Welcome back. In this video, we are going to see how you can connect your Spring Batch application and process file from a FTP server. So this is a classic use case. This is very common in enterprise applications that you'll have a separate FTP server on which the files will be sort of pushed daily throughout the day, and then you are supposed to read it from your application. So the first thing is, in this video, we are going to break this concept into two parts. We are going to first configure the FTP server, get it up and running in our system. I'm not going to install the server from scratch. I'm going to use Docker, and then we are going to connect it to our Spring Batch application using a tool called as Spring Integration. So if you're aware of what Spring Integration is, then well and good. Otherwise, I'll just give you a brief when we get there. I also want to call out that Apache Camel is another way in which you can do this, but I'm going to use Spring Integration for this video. This is going to be the agenda of this video. In the next video, we're going to see how you can actually trigger the batch job. So this video, our aim is going to be connecting the FTP server to our Spring application and getting the file downloaded on our local from the FTP server. So let's get started. In this Docker YAML, the Docker compose YAML file, I have added the component for FTP. Please go ahead and update your YAML file accordingly. This is a standard FTP image. It's a free one. It's going to expose port 21. And these are going to be the credentials, and this is going to be the directory which is going to get mapped. So I have connected it to my local FTP-data. So if you don't know what bind volumes is, then in a nutshell, whatever data you push into this directory is going to be copied into this directory. This is our local directory. This is the FTP server's mounted directory. So, and this is going to be the directory where the server is going to read from. So let's go ahead and create this directory FTP-data. So to save some time, I've already created it in the resources folder, and I have added two files into it, right? Data.csv and employees.csv. So I expect these two files to be copied into the FTP when it starts up. And we have this in the same level as docker compose.yaml. So that is why this dot works. If you have it in some different directory, then please go ahead and give the absolute path here. Let's bring up the server. So what I've done is I've already run the server, and if you go here and just type docker ps, you should see two services because we've started MySQL as well as the FTP server. So let's go there, and if you see this server is up and running, it's running on port 21. This is the container ID, and this is created 56 minutes ago. So let's do one thing. Let's go inside the container and see if our files have been copied or no. So the docker volume mount has worked or no. This is what we are verifying. So I'm going to go inside the container. So I'm going to use this command, and I'm going to, so here I am in the root directory of the container. So if you do ls lrt, this is the root container. As we have mounted it onto /home/demo, let's go there. So I'm just going to do cd, and if I do ls, I should see two files here. So you can see we have two files here, and let me show you the content of those files. So I'm just going to do cat, got data.csv, and we've got employees.csv. So this is, both of them are same. I've just had two files just for sake of showing you that you can copy multiple files. So this is ready. Our server is up and running. Now we have to connect our Spring Batch application to this FTP. So we need some dependencies. What I've done is I've gone and added these two dependencies here. So we need the Spring Batch infrastructure and the Spring Integration FTP. So add these two dependencies in your POM, hit maven reload, and these dependencies will get downloaded to your project. After which we want to enable logging related to FTP. So I've gone ahead and added these three log levels. I will paste all these texts, this log level, the dependencies, and the Docker compose into the application, the lecture resources, and you can just copy it from there. So this is saving some time. Now we have to go ahead and create the FTP configuration. So our application needs to connect to FTP. So let's go ahead and create a class here called as FTP config. So this is going to be boilerplate stuff. This is nowhere connected to Spring Batch. So I'm just going to copy it from one of my lectures. Yeah. So this is the one. This is the class which is going to configure our FTP related parameters. So as you can see, I'm just going to explain you this in a nutshell. It's nowhere related to our course, but just for the sake of completion, I'm just going to explain. Here we have the FTP session factory, in which we're going to tell the this IP and port of our servers. It's running on my machine, so it's localhost. The standard port is 21. We have not changed the port. This is the credentials that we have given. this is very important. You have to enable the passive mode, otherwise that files don't get downloaded. So I had some issues. So please go ahead and add this mode. Then you can, this is the Spring way of creating the file template. So this is going to be one of the required beans for this. And as you see, it depends on the factory. Then we have the synchronizer. So synchronizer is just at a high level, you can understand it as a thread which is going to synchronize two directories. One is going to be the FTP server and second is going to be our local directory. Here we are telling it that once you synchronize, please don't delete any files on the remote server, that is our FTP server. Then we are telling it what directory to look at. So when we say slash, it is not actually the root directory. It's the first directory that the FTP server gives you when you log it. So in our case, it is actually going to be /home/demo. So you have to place all your files at this path inside the server. And that is what we have done in the previous, you have seen the presentation. So we have done this. So, and then we say preserve timestamp as false. So it's not going to have any time sensitive. So it's like you can replay the files later on. That is for that. And then we have the standard poller here. So it's going to poll for the files every 5 seconds. And this is the synchronizer. It's going to poll for every 5 seconds. And once it polls, it's going to put the files into this folder, which will be on our file system. So it's a local directory. So it's going to be on this machine. And if it's not there, then we're going to auto create it for us. So that is good. Then there is the FTP channel. This is the channel on which the file gets transferred. So we've just gone for a bean of that. And then once everything downloads, then we have the service activator. So once you have any data being transmitted on the FTP channel, we want this code to be triggered. So this is nothing but logging the file for us. So this is going to be good. And this is the configuration for FTP. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run this application and check whether our FTP is in place or not. So I'm going to go to the main class and I'm going to run this application. So we expect two files to be coming into a local directory called FTP-download. So I'm just going to stop this application here and let us view the logs one by one. So as you can see, we've got some additional logs here. Can you see we have got these logs? So these for not coming earlier. And as you can see, it has got one subscriber. The FTP channel has got one subscriber and it expects to download a file. So let's see if it downloaded the file. Yeah, can you see? We have got the two file names that we placed inside the FTP. We've got both of them and it has said that two files have been transferred. They have been added to the channel queue, which is good. And the payload is mentioned here. What was the size? What is the ID? Some ID is auto-generated. And then it also tells us what timestamp. So once this is done, we've got the service activator in place. That is the code snippet that we saw here at the end. So this is going to actually log it. So we can see this logger has come and we've got the file name data.csv. It has been added to this directory called FTP-downloaded, which is what we configured in the configuration here, right? So we expect it to be here. And if you see at the top left here, we've got this directory, which was not there earlier. And we've got these two files here. So this is how the FTP server has actually pushed this. In fact, our service has actually pulled this from the FTP server onto the local file system. And once you have got these files on the local file system, you can play them using the flat file item reader like we have done in the previous lectures. So this is how you connect your Spring Batch application to the FTP and poll files periodically. So this is going to be the good starting point for us. And if you just run this application once again, you'll see that this is a continuous daemon thread. And in fact, it is running on a totally different thread. So if you see the main thread is actually running our application, but there is a scheduler thread, which is a completely background thread, which is keep on polling from the FTP. And like you see, this time it has received 0 files. And if you go ahead and add one more file, in fact, let's do that. So what I'll do this time I will just add a file with 3 records. So let's do that. Let's go here. This is our FTP directory. So I'm just going to add this. So the moment I press enter here, the Spring thread is going to pick it up. So let's clear the logs for now. And I'm going to press enter and let's just go here, wait for 5 seconds. And you can see this time the file name CSV, students.csv has been picked up. And we will have this here as well. So if I just refresh this, you'll see students.csv will also come up here. So our FTP and Spring application are now in sync. And now we can actually go ahead and trigger the job. This was the part 1 of the FTP download and Spring Batch job trigger. In the next video, we're going to see how you can actually trigger the job. Thank you very much.